Welcome to today's explainer. We're looking at something incredibly familiar today, but through a totally different lens. We're going to trace the fascinating story of how the world's most heavily guarded secret formula didn't just sit there gathering dust. No, it actively evolved to meet our changing demands over more than a century.
Okay, let's dive into this. How do you take a single globally recognized recipe and spin it out into an entire family of distinct flavors? Well, this explainer tracks the brand's direct evolutionary response to our very own drinking habits. Basically, as our lifestyle shifted, the actual chemistry in our glasses had to change right alongside us. To really anchor our understanding, let's mentally walk through this chronological roadmap. We start way back in 1886 with the original taste. From there, we jump almost a full century forward to 1982, when Diet Coke enters the picture. That was followed later by the launch of Zero Sugar and then subsequent flavor expansions like Cherry Coke. It's a really clear progression, going from a classic standard to some highly specific modern adaptations.
Section 1. The Original Standard.
So the classic Coca-Cola first appeared in 1886, right? Formulated by pharmacist John Pemberton down in Atlanta, Georgia. And what started as just a local pharmacy experiment quickly blew up into a massive global phenomenon. For the vast majority of us, this specific 1886 creation is the absolute foundation. It's the definitive standard that literally everything else we'll look at today was built upon.
And this brilliantly illustrates what makes it tick. Even though the exact formula remains a legendary, locked vault kind of secret, its sensory profile relies on four unshakable pillars. We're talking sweetness, specific citrus notes, a proprietary blend of spices, and of course, carbonation. This exact chemical combination is what the brand would spend decades either trying to alter for new markets or desperately trying to replicate.
Section 2. The Diet Coke Revolution.
The year 1982 represents a massive paradigm shift. When Diet Coke was introduced, it wasn't just another new product on the shelf. It effectively blew the ceiling off the market for low-calorie beverages. Suddenly, the consumer base wasn't limited to just those willing to consume sugar. It was a real game-changer.
But here's the crucial point. Diet Coke is not just the original Coca-Cola with the sugar magically zapped out of it. It is an entirely different flavor formula altogether. The original 1886 blend of spices and citrus simply didn't react the same way chemically without sugar, so they had to create a totally ground-up formulation, specifically designed to harmonize with artificial sweeteners.
Section 3. Chasing the Classic Taste.
Now, what's really interesting about this is the distinct goals separating these two low-calorie giants. Diet Coke, as we just talked about, relies on that distinctly different formula. Coca-Cola Zero Sugar, however, was launched with a completely different mandate. It uses a specific blend of sweeteners instead of sugar, with the sole aim of preserving and mimicking that familiar original 1886 flavor profile.
But perfectly replicating John Pemberton's original profile without using actual sugar, that is an incredibly difficult feat of food chemistry. Because of that, the Zero Sugar recipe hasn't been a one-and-done deal. The company has updated the blends several times, constantly refining the chemistry to make the beverage resemble the 1886 original more and more closely with every single iteration.
Section 4. A sweet cherry twist.
Let's move to and see how this builds, because this is a fantastic cause and effect story. This flavor didn't start in some sterile corporate lab. It started at local soda fountains with everyday consumers independently adding cherry syrup to their cola. Coca-Cola actively noticed this grassroots trend gaining serious popularity, and they responded by releasing an official packaged version. It's a perfect example of a brand letting consumer DIY habits drive their R&D.
And the result is Coca-Cola Cherry. It perfectly marries the traditional 1886 cola base with a new consumer-demanded flavor. It essentially gave fans exactly what they were already trying to mix up themselves, That classic Coca-Cola experience combined seamlessly with a noticeable sweet cherry taste, all packed into one convenient can.
So we've seen how the brand completely altered its chemistry to remove sugar, and how it adopted our own DIY trends to create entirely new lines like Cherry Coke. This secret formula is actually a living, breathing thing that responds to us. So if everyday consumers helped create Cherry Coke simply by experimenting at the fountain, what flavor profile will you inspire next? Thanks for joining me for this explainer. I hope it absolutely changes the way you look at your next sip.